What if you've never actually been yourself? Not fully, not truthfully, not out loud. It's not your fault. You've been shaped, smoothed, edited, taught who to be in exchange for love, praise, acceptance, survival. Most of us don't grow up asking, who am I? We grow up learning to be who the world wants us to be. We learn to belong before we learn to be. We learn to perform before we learn to feel. And at some point, we stop asking ourselves, is this even me? We live in a world that rewards performance way louder than it does presence. We're not just living in the age of distraction, we're living in the age of comparison. Today, we're spending around 7 hours a day looking at a screen. 2.5 of those hours alone on social media. That's more time than we're spending eating, exercising, spending quality time with the ones we love, all combined. And it's watching curated highlight reels. Perfect homes, perfect abs, perfect cheese boards. I mean, we open up Instagram and 5 minutes later, we immediately feel behind in our career, our wardrobe, vacation schedule. I mean, geez, even our ability to arrange charcuterie. And I know we laugh, but we all feel it. We all feel it so deeply. And it's not just comparing lives, it's comparing selves, because then we turn around and post the version of ourselves that we think everybody else is going to like the most. We end up saying yes to things that we want to really say no to. We say that we're fine when we're really not. Because real is risky. Being real means that rejection hits you, not the mask. Maybe the scariest thing about being real is that by choosing a path, we are in essence letting go of all of the other paths that other people may have expected us to walk. And maybe this is the greatest risk of being real. Bronnie Ware, she was a palliative nurse. She interviewed her patients in their final days. She came up with a list of the top regrets of the dying. The number one regret was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life more true to myself rather than the life others expected of me. Maybe that's the real cost. One day reflecting back, looking back on our lives and realizing we didn't live as ourselves. But here's the kicker. We live in a world of information. The self-help industry alone has completely blown up. It's this constant stream of courses, books, influencers, all promising to help us find ourselves. And I think maybe that's part of the problem too, is that we're constantly searching for answers about ourselves outside of ourselves. Just be yourself. It might be the most frustrating advice we could ever get today. Because it's kind of like, yeah, cool, well, which version? The polished one on LinkedIn? The curated one on Instagram? The one that says I'm good even though I'm not? Be yourself is a phrase that's thrown around like confetti, right? We see it everywhere. It's slapped on the side of coffee mugs. It's a bumper sticker. It's a Pinterest quote. It's sort of just become a mood. But here's the truth. Being yourself is not cute. It's costly. Maybe that's why so few of us do it. Because being yourself today, it's not a vibe. It's a rebellion. Years ago, you may have looked at me and thought I was living a successful life. I had the job, the relationship, the image. And if someone were to just come up to me and say, hey, just be yourself, I would have smiled and said, well, I am. But I wasn't. In fact, I didn't even know what that actually meant. I had never slowed down long enough to ask myself the right questions. So I did what any sane, self-respecting, emotionally stable adult would do, and I decided to walk away from a career that looked great on paper but left me feeling empty, from a marriage that was damaged from taking a backseat to everything else, and from a life and an identity that I had so carefully constructed for everyone else. And I didn't walk away because I was brave. I walked away because staying was completely breaking me. And so I took a one-way car rental to Georgia to start walking. And that's what led me to hike over 2,000 miles from there to Maine along the Appalachian Trail. And you know, I went on that trail and I really thought that I was going to find myself. That was the goal. But I didn't find myself. I lost myself on purpose. Because here's what I've learned. We don't find ourselves. We build ourselves. And that building requires letting go and stripping down all the pieces that don't fit so that we can realign with what's most important, what matters most in our lives. Our priorities, our values, our people. The trail was my way of doing that, because with every single step I took, every single mile I walked, I was stripping away one more layer of who I thought I had to be. Somewhere between the blisters and the breakdowns and the soggy Pop-Tarts, I realized you don't have to become someone new. You just need to remember who you already are. And that takes clarity. And clarity takes space. And let me tell you, nothing offers space quite like walking through the wilderness for miles upon miles with no distractions other than your own thoughts. The thing is, we don't have to disappear into the mountains to find that place. But that space, that quiet, that solitude, we tend to shy away from it. But you know, as noisy as the world is, it's not until we put down that phone that we realize when the real noise kicks in. Because in that moment, that's when we finally start to hear ourselves. There's a popular phrase on the trail: hike your own hike. It means walk your own pace, carry your own gear, honor your own journey. It's way harder than it sounds, because just like in life, you're surrounded by people who seem to just be doing it a little bit better. Maybe they're fitter, faster, carrying less. And just when you feel like you've figured it out, you come across someone half your age carrying half the weight and eating trail mix like it's a competitive sport. But suddenly you find that you're not just walking, you're comparing, you're performing, you're pretending. And it's not just a trail problem, it's a life problem. You know, in life, we don't have a trail sign every few miles reminding us to hike our own hike. Wouldn't that be so nice? I think that's what I love the most about that phrase. It gives us something to carry with us. It gives us something to hold on to, something tangible to hold on to and stay grounded in. When we feel that pull towards someone else's pace, that pull to seek someone else's approval, that pull towards someone else's version of success, We can ask ourselves, am I walking my own walk or am I performing someone else's? It gives us something. And it's really hard because we live in this culture that says we will love the version of you that fits our feed. We live in a culture that praises attention so much more than authenticity. But performing for attention, it really does come at a cost. Because the more you hide, the less you feel known. So we have a choice to make. To fit in, or finally choose yourself. And that choice, that is where the real work begins. Take a breath with me. Thank you. I need to hear it. That choice is where the real work begins. And it's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-time decision. It's every single conversation, every relationship, every day. What I found to continue coming back to myself and make sure I was hiking my own hike were 3 trail markers, what I like to call the 3 C's: clarity, courage, connection. The most beautiful thing about these things is that you don't need to be a hiker. You don't need to hike over 2,000 miles to practice these things. Over the years, I've seen everyday, ordinary people applying these principles to their life to realign with what actually matters and choose themselves. Clarity only comes when we finally give ourselves permission to slow down and listen. Not just listen, but also ask ourselves some of these really tough questions that we maybe otherwise wouldn't. Who am I trying to impress? And do I even like them? That's clarity. But clarity alone doesn't change your life. Courage does. Clarity is a mirror, and courage is what you do when you don't like what you see. But courage in real life, it's not loud. It's not quitting your job with an epic Instagram post. It is not this TED Talk moment. It's so quiet. It's saying no when you otherwise would have said yes. It's saying you're not okay. It's being honest with yourself. Courage on the trail didn't show up on the mountaintops for me. It showed up in the mud, the mess, the monotony of it all. It was the 6th straight day of pouring rain. My socks were completely soaked beyond what I ever thought would be even humanly possible. And I remember thinking to myself, why am I even here? Why am I doing this? But I didn't quit. I took one more step, not because I had the answers, not because I felt strong, but because I knew deep down that I was right where I needed to be. And that was courage. And finally, connection. And I'm not talking about the curated kind. I'm not talking about the likes and the followers, the kind that we get when we're pretending to be someone that we maybe aren't. I'm talking about the connection that happens when we finally allow ourselves to be seen. I was about halfway through that trail. Cold, wet, maybe ready to quit, contemplating. And a woman pulled over on a backcountry road. She rolled down her window. She handed me a hot chocolate and a muffin. She said, "You look like you needed something." Now, she didn't hike the miles. She didn't change my life. But that small gesture right there, that got me through the next 10. And I think that that's what we're here to do. I think we are here to live our truth and then leave some of that trail magic for the person behind us. And perhaps that was the greatest reward in that entire journey for me. I believe that when we are hiking our own hike, we are in a better position to leave that trail magic for other people. I finished that hike and I didn't stay in the woods. I didn't go all Henry David Thoreau on the world. I didn't become some elite through hiking athlete. I came home. Today I'm a loving partner and a father, and I'm just a human that lives and loves completely differently. All by making a priority every single day to hike my own hike. Being yourself is scary. It's lonely. It's a stripping down. It's wild at times. And it's costly. Because you don't get to be authentic and adored by all the people who loved your performance. You don't get to keep the mask and the freedom. But what you get instead, your breath, your peace, your people, a life that you don't feel like you need to escape from, that is all real. And real is what the world needs more of. Because in a world that profits off your confusion, your clarity is power. In a world that rewards performance, your honesty is rare. And in a world obsessed with becoming someone new, just being yourself is revolutionary. So don't wait for that mountaintop moment. Start right where you are. Get quiet, get honest, take the next step, and then another toward who you truly are. And the next time you feel that urge to shrink, that urge to play the part, that urge to say yes when really deep down you want to say no, ask yourself, am I hiking my own hike or am I performing someone else's? And if you're not, then good, because that awareness right there, that's where the real hike begins. And the most courageous thing you will ever do is be you.